very, very easy for you then. You can create n number of research problems, but you must follow what is behind all that art. You know, at any point of time, if you find there is a difficulty or some kind of issue in learning or understanding, please let me know. So what are the important things? So generally what we do is, in a research problem, we try to tell the different issues that we are using, but please remember one thing, again, practical. Suppose you have to file a research proposal to a funding agency, you know, and you are very ambitious, so you will say, I'll do that, I'll do that. Do not claim or do not write a thing which you are not intending to do in this part. Because this part is all about the things that you would finally do. So do not write a thing, because sometimes we are little extravagant in saying that I'll do this survey, I'll do that. No, here you have to be precise and honest about the issues. That doesn't matter, you are doing a little less in number of the things, but make sure that you are limiting your research problem properly. See, limiting your research problem is the key. Your ability to limit the scope of your research problem and understand that what is the limit. So there may be many things. Sometimes you confront a question that you have not done that. You can reply that I have not done many things. It's not the one thing. Because I didn't intend to do that. You are responsible for the thing that you intended to do and you have done it. Are you getting my point? So please remember that the research problem statement does three things. Problem justification, problem definition. Means suppose I am saying this is the problem, I am dealing with the impact of, this is an issue. This is the core issue. Every research has a core issue and you should be able to tell that core issue in one word. So my core issue is impact of domestic violence on children. I have further defined it in order to measure it, in order to crystallize it, in order to develop variables from this and all that. But the core issue remains the impact. Now this problem has to be described in few lines in my research statement. You can start from a very general statement that domestic violence impacts drastically. Yeah, I would say there is a severe impact of domestic violence on children. Full stop. Do I have some data to corroborate this statement? So if I say that as many as 70% of juvenile offenders as per NCRB had a history of experiencing domestic violence in their past life. Full stop. Now these statements are trying to contextualize the problem that I am about to define. Now if I say impact of domestic violence is seen in many ways, full stop. The notable expressions are such and such. 1, 2, 3, 4. The present study intends to examine these 4 kinds of impacts of domestic violence in such and such city and such and such. Full stop. You know? The importance of studying this problem lies, the importance of studying this problem is from various viewpoints. It can be a clinical study, it can be a reformatory study, it can help the rehabilitation, it can help minimize, kind of justification you can, justification. Why are you studying this problem? So sometimes there are various justifications depending on the nature of research. Suppose your research is fundamental. So your quest of your research is only to gain the knowledge. If your research is applied, you want to contribute to the policy. Suppose the objective is applied. So then I will write the major reason of doing this research is to contribute to the policy objective, as this is the policy And these are the gray areas, and this research would contribute in improving the service delivery system in the ground and all those kinds of things. Couple of sentences in order to express clearly the likely contribution of this particular research, right? Then a specification of informational need. You also have a space to write who are your sources of information and how you intend to collect your data. You can say that the necessary data or information for the purpose of this study. You can also write this is going to be an empirical study based on the respondents to be contacted in these and these areas who have experienced these and these problem over past few years belonging to these socioeconomic categories and the kind of things. Taking together, it has become a precise, simple, and don't try to overwork. Actually, you are the victim of your own hard work. Sometimes you think that I have done hard work, but you have hardly worked. So don't do. See, simplicity is very important. That's what I say. Your ability to write clear sentences, because see, why do people not write clear? Because if you are writing clear, you have to be clear in your mind. A clear mind would result into clear writing. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि आप समझ में तो सवारा था लेकिन लिख नहीं पा रहे. ऐसा नहीं होता. If your thought process is clear, your writing will be clear. So try to, detangle things. They are entangled. उनको थोड़ा अलग-अलग करो चीजों को. And one sentence, one issue. Always have one sentence, one issue. एक line में एक ही बार deal करो. उसमें don't bring too many things. You will see. You try to do this. You will achieve a kind of extreme clarity. मेरे पास जैसे यहाँ there is no student, generally those who are doing LLM dissertation, they don't come to me generally. But मैं dissection तो पहले मैं language का करता. Why have you written this sentence? कहते सर ये तो थोड़ा इसको छोड़ दो. मैंने क्यों लिखा है? ये तो सर लिख दिया. So the same issue, the same example I give, that in law schools and law, schools, when paper is distributed, later, copies are distributed first. So people would start writing without receiving the paper in law. Constitution ka paper likho 2-3 pages. It would be adjusted with any answer. Because writing is sort of by the way. They start writing. If I say paper तो अभी दिया नहीं है, लिखे तो कुछ जब तक पेपर आएगा उसको देख लेंगे what is the appropriate question. Let's see. This is a fact. I have seen this. Yeah, because they have to count the pages. So we need to be little careful about our, this thing. Now let us see how these things can be applied to a genuine drafting of them. So I'll demonstrate one drafting which I have a sample. I can show you a couple of more examples. And I'm not asking you to be as it is. I'm asking you to be more innovative. This is just a very basic pedestrian example. You have all potential to rise much above to it. Please look at it. So 3 things you keep in mind and then look at. So problem statement, this is the first. The problem statement has 3 things. The problem itself, please state clearly with enough contextual detail to establish why it is important. This you have to write. Then secondly, the method of solving the problem, often stated as a claim of working thesis. So you have a kind of idea. So why I'm saying the problem that you are drafting, the method of solving, the purpose and statement of objective and scope of project B. So do little research, reverse engineering. Suppose you have drafted some of you have drafted a research. Now you check with the help of these benchmarks whether these things are present in your drafting or not. So suppose you have to identify whether your problem statement has been correctly drafted or not. What is the criteria? This is the criteria. Statement of problem should clearly indicate what is to be investigated, indicate the variables of interest. Now variables are very important. Variables are the precise issues like impact. Impact has been further crystallized into variable. Like impact is being seen as a medical treatment, as a psychological problem, as a dropout from school. These are the variables through which the impact of domestic violence being studied. They should find mention in this. Now let us see how the problem can be studied. So first is, if I study the problem definition, so my first objective is, if research problem is here, the GT Credit Union Bank would like to increase the number of customers who take out loans through the bank over next year, but unsure of what criteria people use to choose a lender. This is a research problem. No? This is a research problem. So problem definition has been clearly stated. The first requirement is problem definition. It is there. Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Can you see?
Yes.
This is a very modest example. I am not saying you should be verbatim like this. Why research is an optimal path? Second is justification. Now you have to justify why the research is the only answer to this problem. Because there is a problem, then you are saying research, therefore there is a research. So research is necessary in order to improve. Now research is necessary is justification. To improve the client's understanding of what criteria influence the bank selection. Since no current information is available, research will help GT Union Bank to avoid costly target marketing and communication mistakes. So research will answer. So if I say you apply this model to this research problem, what is the problem justification in case of this problem? Research is necessary to improve the service delivery mechanism to deal with the children who are the victims of domestic violence, so that the institutions working in this field could be more strengthened, could be more and more strengthened. I have applied this logic here. Third is specification of informational needs. Research will examine the decision-making criteria customer use. So now we'll study how the customer reached to this particular decision to go to a particular bank, and what are the general attitudes of the customers towards this particular bank. This serves the objective, third objective. Everybody is clear on this? Or any issue?
Specification of information needs.
Yeah, bata. Actually what we are doing, ultimately, थोड़ा सा 1 मिनट के लिए आप एक चीज जरा नोट करें. Ultimately, you need to understand 3 things we have discussed. One was the problem, other was the justification, and informational needs. Means ultimately, what are the sources for your data and what kind of data you will collect in order to address the result. See, ultimately, what happens is you need to understand that certain data would be required for the purpose of your study. Now, in this case, the decision-making criteria used by the customer, because ultimately, what was your problem definition? Your informational needs are hidden in your problem. You read it. What was it? It was that what criteria the customer used in lending from a particular bank. So how the customers make the decision ultimately. Now you can see here also, if I see what was the impact of domestic violence, so it means we want to understand what are the major consequences of domestic violence for the children. That is something what we are aiming at. So the core of research must be tied very tightly. Actually, never lose your grip as far as your grip on the research is concerned. So now if I see these things together, seeing them together is now magic. Let us see. Now you read the composite research problem. It is drafted like this. This is the statement of.
So when we are talking about decision making criteria, or when we are talking about general attitude of customers, so these are also vague. We will have to identify the factors.
So definitely, this is vague means this is the research statement. We have not reached to the level of crystallization where the variables would be drawn in order to measure the. We have not reached to the data collection process. You are right. We are using certain terminology for which we have the definition. But here we are trying to tell the audience. Actually, you always have the audience perspective in your mind. You are intimating to an audience that this is a precise research statement, and if required you can define certain terminology here. But I agree that we have not yet derived the variables, because variables deriving would happen at the stage of hypothesis creation. So let us see another slide which is very important, and you need to look at the 5 P's in a research problem. Always remember, there are 5 P's in your research problem, and you need to read these 5 P's in your research problem. Now you look at your research problem. What are the 5 P's? So one of the P's is always there, which is predominant in your research. Sometimes it can be more than one, sometimes it can be one. So people means your research is focused on group of individuals. Problems, you are examining a problem. Programs, where you are examining the program. Phenomena, to establish the existence of its regularity or pulse. So suppose you are doing an evaluation of a kind of program, suppose some housing scheme launched by the government for poor people. So if you want to make an evaluation, it would be a study of program. But if you are studying people, you are studying the advocates and their issues in the court. It's people-centric research. Policy, if you are studying surrogacy, IP, cyber policy, these are the policy studies. So one of the P's would be present. So if you have to revisit your research problem draft, look at how many P's are predominantly present in your research. But reading P's in your research problem it would definitely give you some kind of reassurance as to what is your focus. Now you might not have looked at your research statement in this fashion, but this is how it is done. Because I have told you in the beginning that I am not telling you how research problem is drafted. I am trying to intimate you the principles behind research problem. So these are the principles. Finding P, locating the problem definition, locating the information need. So suppose tomorrow, now you see where are you now. So suppose tomorrow if you are in a conversation with some expert who is trying to understand what is your research problem. If you are conversing him or her with this terminology, then if he doesn't know, he would be in trouble. Because you are not speaking a pedestrian language, you are speaking the language of an expert. So suppose, now if you ask this question to any researcher, what is the problem definition criteria in your research? What is the P's position in your research? Now these questions are suddenly become very expert and specific. No, now this is the outcome of this workshop. I want you to understand these principles, which would be capacity building principles. So let us see now another thing. So are you fine now? Can you, now tomorrow, please note down that you would bring me a small draft of the statement of your research problem, which we can discuss. Please try. If you do not do it today, tomorrow never comes. Please do it today. And please do not take it lightly. This is very technical thing. The point is, we think that we know, but the mystery remains we don't know. We have to do a lot of demystification. This is very important, because we think, I think before a few minutes you were thinking research problem drafting में क्या है? We can write para another page, एक page और सही, कई पेज लिखते हैं दिन में, एक पेज और सही, ये ठीक है, ये अच्छा डायलॉग है. Sometimes it occurs to you, Then I use all these things at some other places, So it's very interesting. Now I'll tell you the two more things only: how to draft the objective and how to draft the hypothesis. Now, as far as, please also, remain in the know that there are three things which are to be read in conjunction. Your research problem is emerging from your literature review. Literature review you have done, and you have derived and contextualized your research problem in the context of literature that you have reviewed. So therefore, now you are ready with a research statement. Now your objectives must emerge from they should not fall apart. Many times, I think if you have to assess a research, you have to look at whether the research objectives are emerging from the problem or not. And your hypothesis will emerge from the objective. So these three things should be in a sync. Research problem, objective, and hypothesis. Is it correct?
Yes.
Or you have doubt? In the meanwhile, we always use action 1 to write the objectives. And objectives, what is the principle of writing? Again, certain principles. What is the first principle of writing the objective? The first principle, one issue and one objective. There should not be too many things to be stuffed in the drafting of a single object. Is it okay? Can you tell me why there should not be too many things in one object?
Because later on objectives are and further things like
On the basis of objective, we'll identify the hypothesis and we'll test that.
See, you can simply say that this entire document will become a blueprint for implementation. Blueprint, your research would be implemented with the help of this. So if your blueprint is vague because of stuffing too many things in single component, then you won't be deriving any clarity out of it. So let us see that to find out for certain, these are the action verbs which we use. And so for instance, there are descriptive objectives to find out the opinion of the employees about the medical facilities provided by 5-star hotels in Mumbai. Suppose this is the objective I am thinking. This is a descriptive objective. Now, again, you have to go back to your research and understand what is your research model. If your research is purely descriptive, or in the break some of you were discussing law impact study, or if your research is analytical, diagnostic, action, evaluative, your research, your objective would be written in that fashion. So see, how does it happen here? There are correlational studies. So suppose in some cases you want to do correlation. So to ascertain the impact of training on employee retention, I want to understand the extent to which the training is a factor in the retention of employee in a particular organization. This is the correlation because you are doing two variables. The impact of training on the retention of employee. Therefore, to compare the effectiveness of different loyalty programs or repeat clientele. Now, hypothesis testing study. So correlational studies, the hypothesis, the objective would be drafted in this fashion. Certain studies are hypothesis testing studies. To ascertain if an increase in the working hours will increase the incidence of drug or alcohol use. So my hypothesis is, in the organization where working hours are too many, the incidence of alcohol will happen. I want to test this hypothesis, therefore I have to objective, and therefore this kind of drafting begins. Have you ever thought that this process could be so micro? That's why I said in the beginning that we need to move on to micro. So everything that you do is preceded by a logic, even the drafting of object. Now I have told you in the process there can be three types of objective drafting. Descriptive objective drafting, correlational objective drafting, hypothesis testing objective drafting. Is it becoming clear to you? Or becoming loaded for you? Are you fine?
Yes.
Great. So these are the things. I think this is enough for telling you to do the objective drafting. The last part is, let us look at the hypothesis thing. I'll present you a very good study. Please read a book by Shailashri Shankar. Shailashri Shankar. You know what is the book?
How does it spell?
Scaling Justice. Shailashri Shankar. Scaling Justice. And hypothesis testing I will discuss through this book. And I am very fascinated about this work. Please read this, and you will really like this study for various reasons. Not about the content. Again, read it for knowing the method. Read this book for knowing the methodology. Don't read it for knowing the content. Content you can know it anyway. Read this book. I'll discuss some extracts of this work to tell you how a very good research model can be evolved. And I have reached from problem to objectives, and I am into hypothesis building. Before I get into, I just ask what is the role of hypothesis? Very good study. Can anybody tell me?
It guides us to.
It keeps you on track.
Hmm?
It guides us to move in the right direction.
Does it really guide?
So what do you want to achieve from your assumption at the beginning of the study, which we seek to test during the course of our research?
Yes. Anybody else?
Applied research, because whenever we are stuck into the data collection.
I don't know. I have a serious issue with this entire business of hypothesis. I have seen many people writing hypotheses, but I have never seen anybody using that hypothesis finally in this. Anybody used hypothesis in dissertation or PhD?
Yes, we have used, but many times we
I
lack
have
to
rather
certain
seen.
ambiguities.
I have rather seen that you have presented a hypothesis in the beginning, but you have later on forgotten what happened to that hypothesis, and you have completed the thesis. I have checked a couple. So what did you do with that?
So
Sir, whenever, as per
How did you test?
Like we don't use this, actually not using, we are using that hypothetical-deductive method to test it. For social science methods, these we are not, I think, used to or mastered those techniques until now.
Why then we
Legal-
use hypothesis in legal research? It's not a question of if you are content of social nature in legal studies, so you have to use those methods. That is what we have been talking, that we have to derive from various disciplines the methodology, because we are in law is interdisciplinary. We are law content of, you are dealing with human being, you are dealing with human behavior, you are dealing with institutional functioning, you are dealing with policy. So management methodology, social science methodology, historical methodology, comparative methods, all these things are very much to be there. I just want to understand, because I have a historical problem. Because I have seen many theses which have decorated with so many of hypotheses, and they didn't touch it in the end. They remain untouched throughout.
was it in conclusion and explanation we have to mention that what we did with our hypothesis and
You
how
have to mention means doctor has advised or what happened. Who has, I want to understand what is the ultimate utility of the hypothesis in your thesis. Somebody, because in many places I have seen, it's not something, I'm not surprised with this scary silence on this issue. This is quite a problem. I want to understand, how many of you have used the hypothesis? No, you see the scene. No, nobody will raise the hand. Very good. Gagandeep is the best person. At least she has a temerity to. Anyway, anybody else who has mentioned doesn't matter. Let us be little clear to ourselves. Yes, you have it. So, on what occasion did you use the hypothesis? Master dissertation. So, what was it? Okay, I can understand. So, anybody who has recently used it didn't do much with that? No, then why are you doing it? It's a problem. I'll tell you, I'll be again little blunt, saying that we perhaps do not understand the exact role of it. What you said is a kind of answer which I always get. Hypothesis is there to guide.
No, not a guide. Hypothesis is basically certain questions which you formulated before the solution of the problem
Right,
which you have taken.
right.
And afterwards, they guide you in a particular direction which you want to achieve from your, I will to say, research.
Mm.
Because of the reason, for example, they are in the form of questions. Whether it is happening, whether it is like this. So that lead you in a particular direction
Mm.
where your research is going on. And afterwards, when you write your thesis, then you try to, obviously, as you said, it might be in a good direction, it might be in a bad direction.
So did we really guide or misguide or what happened? I mean,
So at least
I
you
mean,
are defined by that.
hypotheses deserve little respect in terms of revisiting them again.
Obviously.
I don't know why we are so disrespectful to the things which we have created for that.
Sir, hypothesis can be rebutted also, because
What's that?
hypothesis is something which, after the preliminary reading,
Okay.
the presumptions which we draw, after an elaborate study, we may support what we, initially thought, or we may rebut what we initially thought.
So what will happen with that?
There is also a possibility that if I'm doing a quantitative research and she is doing a survey research, what the hypothesis, if her hypothesis stands true after her research, that may not be the case with me. So maybe that is also something which we should keep in mind.
So I think you have taken me to a different level, and I'm fine with that, because sometimes now they are saying that your hypothesis would ultimately reach to a level whether you will confront this position, whether it holds true or it doesn't. So in order to understand whether does it hold true or does not hold true, how do we know and what will happen and something? No, this is the gray area in fact. This is the major issue where we need to look at. And I'll tell you that why it happens. It happens for two reasons. Because hypothesis building, we take it very casually. Perhaps we don't understand that what is the difference between research question and hypothesis. You know? Generally, when hypothesis is stated in the question form, we call them research question. And research question is a very kind of student type thing that for students generally they use in their projects because
So in
they,
qualitative research, we normally formulate such questions only, no? So
even
we
in
don't-
empirical research also.
Okay.
But I say that if you see that the UGC pattern or ICSSR pattern, they never encourage you to have research question, they encourage you to have hypothesis. See, the source of hypothesis is your study about the literature of that subject, because source of hypothesis is the literature or your general understanding about it. So suppose you formulate a hypothesis, and what is the structure of hypothesis? Can anybody tell me?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
There are variables
ये
and
मैंने बताया होगा शायद देहरादून। अच्छा अच्छा स्ट्रक्चर में क्या है?
session होगा था सर, तो variables we have to
अच्छा ओके वेरिएबल्स
and we have to connect and to
Okay.
frame in such a way that we are
हाँ
going to.
so
prove
suppose
what
you
is
have
the-
created a hypothesis describing variables. Now what are the variables that we present in that hypothesis? So there are two types of variable, independent and dependent. What is the connection between independent and dependent? The former is the cause, later is the caused. Cause and caused. So dependent is the caused one and independent one is the cause. So do you identify your variables clearly in the structure of hypothesis? Now suppose, go back to that study which you have cited. Suppose you are doing a study on the impact of domestic violence on children. What can be the hypothesis? Drop impact of domestic violence on children. What can be the hypothesis?
There is no significant impact of domestic violence.
We need to bring it down to a little more, because now you have to use variable. Now what is the variable? एक slide और आपको I'll try to take you to a I'm not finding, so otherwise I was intending to tell you the how the variables are derived from the concept. You know? Let us see, suppose you have a variable impact of domestic violence. This is the cause. So what is the measurable that you can derive from it to be used in the hypothesis? In hypothesis, only you will use the variable. Concepts are not used in hypothesis. Please remember. Did you get what I said? Concepts are not used. Only the variables are used. What is the difference between concept and variable?
Let's say if I'm talking about trafficking, we are defining trafficking.
So trafficking is a concept. What is the variable?
The variable would be like whether the child is being moved from one place to the other. Movement would be movement of the child.
The migration, illegal migration.
This segment children.
Illegal migration.
Then you have to listen. Concept is constructed with the help of so many variables. A concept may have so many indicators. We need to understand what are the indicators. What are the indicators of trafficking?
One is exploitation, other is movement of the child.
So it can be health, education, personality of the child.
So what I am saying is, suppose I say, what is the impact of domestic violence? So if I say the dropout situation means children have stopped going to the schools. They become dropout. So one of the consequences that we see on account of impact is their being dropped out from school. There can be several things. The other is suppose they developed anxiety. Now anxiety is measurable. Or if they say health issues, physical health, kind of things. Or they become vagrancy. You know what is vagrancy? Truancy. So vagrancy. So these are the consequences of. So impact is being seen with the help of certain indicators. So these indicators you have to decide. So whatever concepts you are using or you intend to use in your study, it needs to be looked at and identified with the help of measurable indicators. Measurable. A thing which you can put to measurement. So now how can I use in my hypothesis? So can you use now some of these variables to frame a hypothesis for this purpose? I am talking a very strict. There can be little loose designs. In law, generally, we don't follow a very strict, concrete methodology design. But still, let us look at this.
Presence of domestic violence in the family increases the risk of psychological issues.
Psychological issues for gender. Used. Make it used. The dropout.
Rate of dropout is very high.
So, prolonged incidence of domestic violence in the family is likely to result in dropping out of the children. Now, suppose this is the hypothesis. Now, this hypothesis can be put to test. Now, here I am revisiting my question and the crisis point which I have outlined. That hypotheses are not treated in your thesis because we are not aware of the hypothesis testing methodology. So empirical research is a hypothesis testing research. You know what did I say? Empirical research is a hypothesis testing research. So if empirical research does not test hypothesis, it's not really fulfilling the as major assumption. Now, I again revisit to the objective.
The concept should contain the measurable indicators.
Concept is always constructed with the help of certain indicators. Every concept is designed with the help of certain indicators. On the concept, we generally speak in the language of concept, like we use justice, globalization, rule of law, equity, probity, conflict. These are the concepts. Now, social justice, these concepts cannot be put to measurement directly. जैसे आपसे बताया तो सोशल जस्टिस मिल रहा है, हाँ, सोशल ठीक सा लग रहा है, इसका कोई मीनिंग नहीं है, nobody knows, because we never ask this question, what is the social justice? क्या है social justice? कहेंगे आप equality, again फिर वो प्रॉब्लम वही आ गई, equality भी उतनी परेशानी वाला शब्द है, ये सब बातचीत है इसका. Because if you start, I said, you will make others disturbed if you start asking precise questions. Because nobody wants to face precise questions. But they require precise analysis. आपसे कोई ज़्यादा बातचीत करे ना, बहुत स्पेसिफिक, कितनी इनकम, कितनी क्या कैलकुलेट, आप थोड़े इरिटेट से हो जाते हैं, इधर बंद करो ये. Vagueness was good. थोड़ा confusion is always enjoyed. और ये इतना सटल है कि हम लोग इसको बिल्कुल एक्सेप्ट कर गए हैं. ये अच्छा नहीं लग रहा आपको कि मैं ये चीजें पॉइंट आउट कर रहा हूँ, but these are the facts. That's why our writing this way, our writing is confusing, conflicting, contradictory. कोई सिस्टम नहीं है उसमें. I'm telling you, अगर आप थोड़ा ईमानदारी से उसका विश्लेषण करें, पता लग जाएगा.
These measurable indicators we need in only in empirical research.
See, wherever you intend to measure a thing, suppose I want to precisely measure, suppose Government of India asks you as a researcher that please make a study as to how the domestic violence is impacting the children who are living in the affected family. Now you need to first identify what kind of likely impact the domestic violence is there to cause. Now those impacts need to be studied in a very cause-effective fashion, because sometimes the children is getting dropped out not because of domestic violence but because of some other reason. So whether the dropping out is the effect of domestic violence or not, because there can be a thing called spurious relationship. This is not a cause and effect, this is a false relationship. Sometimes ऐसा लगता है ना, जैसे किताब पढ़ना और नॉलेजेबल होना, ये फॉल्स रिलेशनशिप भी हो सकता है. जरूरी नहीं कि आप ज्यादा बुक्स पढ़े तो समझदार भी हो. समझदारी का किताब पढ़ने से कोई संबंध नहीं है. आप मान भी जाते हैं इन बातों को. आप उसके में एक अच्छी चीज ये है कि you are mostly reconciling with me. So I sometimes test your anyway, nothing like that. So you know, ये ओरिजिनल jurisdiction है मेरा इन चीजों पे, तो मैं अपने हिसाब से करता हूँ. Let us come back to it. She has asked a very good question. I really, so let us understand there are few terminology. एक राम आहूजा की basic सी book है, उसको आप पढ़ लें, research methodology. It's very simple book. It introduces you to the basic language of. उसमें देखिए सबसे मैक्रो क्या होता है, theory. सबसे माइक्रो क्या है, वेरिएबल. Theory is consisted of concepts. थोड़ा सा मैं इसको बताऊंगा. So suppose there is a variable, variables, and then there is concept. In concept also there is a thing called propositions. Propositions are again statements explaining the relationship between variables. Then propositions are there in theory. So theory, propositions, concept, variable. We are concerned with variable because variables are measurable, and empirical research is all about the things which are measurable. Like for instance, if I say there is so much crime in society, what does it say? By so much, you're so much, who's so much? if I say crime rate in Delhi is 500 on per lakh of population, is a quantitative statement. 500 per lakh of population, per 100,000 people, there are 500 incidents. If I say there's so much of crime in Delhi, crime rate in Delhi is higher than Rajasthan. Maybe higher, higher, pure higher, whose higher is?
In which year or in which period?
Means I am just trying to convey the language. So variable means you are talking about a thing which is like income. Income is measurable. So yesterday, in fact, we were discussing in the first day that income, we have issues unless we know the exact amount. We don't know the economic status of the person. Therefore, there are many issues. So in order to make the hypothesis useful, because ultimately you need to understand what you are going to do with the hypothesis. Hypothesis gives a direction, ये तो मन बहलाने की बातें हैं. I understand it gives direction. It is true, but the real matter is not that. Real matter is hypothesis takes you to those precise, positions where the data collection becomes the main. Your data collection exercises become guided. Like I'll tell you, suppose my hypothesis was, can you reiterate the hypothesis which we have just mentioned? That hypothesis, what was that? Dropout and domestic violence. Prolonged incidence of domestic violence. Now suppose this is the hypothesis. So you have this hypothesis. Now you have to collect the data in order to verify this hypothesis. Hypothesis is to be verified, it is not to be kept aside. यही तो मैं बात कह रहा हूँ आपसे इतनी देर. Hypothesis need to be put to test. So in order to put to test, what you need to do? Please tell me. You need to collect the relevant data. So hypothesis becomes an important point to decide about the kind of data you require. So in other words, hypothesis drives you to collect a particular set of data. Getting me? How? Because if I say there is a relationship between a particular nature of domestic violence and dropout rate. So I'll go and take a sample. Suppose I have decided to do this study in East Delhi, in 5 colonies, in the affected family, who I have sampled those cases. Suppose I have sampled 500 cases of domestic violence affected home. Now I have a list and I have done my sampling, and now I am going to see whether the presence of domestic violence has resulted in how many cases it has resulted into the dropping out of children. So if I find in as many as 60% cases, 70% cases, 50% cases, the domestic violence was instrumental in causing the incidence of dropping out, then my hypothesis stands verified to that extent that it is a factor. So I cannot do unless I collect this data. Hypothesis, I have hypothesized a positive relationship being there between the two variables. Variable one is domestic violence. Even domestic violence I have defined, because domestic violence की definition तो बड़ी broad है. उसमें तो wife को TV ना देखने देना भी domestic violence है. मैंने पढ़ा है. Is it correct? Psychological torture is also. So whether the degree of domestic violence is relevant in making the children, or they are fine with other forms of domestic violence, just do not matter. So you have to go to micro. Again I am coming. So micro of domestic violence and micro of impact. And the ability to go to this micro aspect is the eureka of the entire thing. This is the only thing which is involved. We avoid going to the micro aspect. If you probe little deeper into the micro aspect, you really touch the chord. And unless you touch the chord, the music doesn't happen. That's why you are very superficial. That's why I said in the beginning, what was the issue? Issue was this, that researchers are not using their hypothesis. They create hypothesis, but they don't test, because we are unaware about the hypothesis testing process. The hypothesis testing process requires you to be knowing that how the variables to be positioned in the statement of hypothesis, and then collect the relevant data and see the relationship. Now there is another degree which we would discuss, whether the so-called relationship which we have seen between the two variables is by chance or by design, or by accident or by a certain regularity. It may be by chance. So in order to test the statistical significance of the relationship between the two variables, you need to calculate certain tests, statistical tests. I will not discuss this today because that would be little disturbing. This is enough for you to know today that there can be a there can be several hypotheses in this kind of study, and each hypothesis would require you to create a interview schedule or a questionnaire, and would require you to collect the data from the different set of respondents. Like, where does this hypothesis would lead you to go? This hypothesis would lead you to go to that home and talk to the people who are involved in that problem. Now you have to take a decision that who would be the most fitting person to give this information to you. Now suppose you are dealing with the household, the children, the wife and other people. So you can collect the necessary information from them and bring that information and try to look at your hypothesis. Now you see whether your data support your hypothesis or not. And that's what I say in the end, you have to not only see that your hypothesis is proved or disproved, you also need to say, what does it contribute to? What does it contribute to the theoretical? Because ultimately legal research would continue to be doctrinal. Despite being empirical, despite being quantitative, you need to theorize your findings in order to place your findings in the broader theoretical framework of that particular subject. If you are doing an IPR or corporate law or environmental law, every subject has its own theoretical boundaries. So how does you locate your research into that particular? Here I take a pause and just ask you, is it becoming helpful to you? Anything that you want to ask? Please ask. Do not carry your confusion, because this is a very, very important stage. Because we started from, again, very quickly, we started from the empirical model which I have shown you here. And then I asked you to draft the research problem. Then I asked you to draft the objective. Then I have derived those objectives as these hypotheses. Now this hypothesis building is a very, very precise exercise. Any question? Otherwise, I'll quickly just tell you this Salishri's study I have to just mention. Are you tired? Tired? I'm just telling you. Very good study. I think this will take you to this. This study is using certain hypotheses on anti-terror cases, and the researcher is saying the emphasis by laws on the power of the executive to detain. Now this is not dealing with the variables kind of thing, this is doing very emphasis by laws on the power of the executive to detain those suspected of anti-terror will be implicated in judgment, but there will be scope for this to negotiate with you. Judgments after the emergency will be more pro-accused than, please read this. judgments after the emergency will be more pro-accused than judgments issued before the emergency. Suppose this is the hypothesis. After emergency, the judges have changed a lot. Now, judges will focus on the rights of vulnerable citizen after the emergency. Now, this hypothesis can be done. A law researchers can look at the judgments, and this study has looked at single party majority rule decreases the opportunity for judges to issue anti-state ruling. Suppose there is a single party strong government, majority government, this will decrease the opportunity to issue the anti-state ruling. Anti-state ruling means when terror cases are brought, so there are pro-state ruling, there are anti-state rulings. Fragmentation in the political landscape will increase the opportunities for judges to deliver anti-state judgments. So there is a weak government, composite government, multi-party government, the judiciary remains strong in giving anti-state rulings. This book by Shalashri Shankar has dealt with anti-terror laws and in a very empirical manner. A threat to national security will dominate all other influences in the state more pro-state ruling. You are seeing these things today also. No, I'm not discussing the merit. Please look at the method part only. Don't go into the argument side of this. Now, how this was done? Methodology. 3 data set. High courts and Supreme Court that deal with right to health is not important. You look at the anti-terror case, you only look at the Supreme Court cases on preventive. Use keyword for case law search and they use strata. Probit techniques आज के लिए थोड़ी difficult हो जाएगी. Assumption. I'll just tell you the. Now, how the researcher has collected the data from the cases, because during the tea break you were discussing whether empirical research is possible to be done with the case laws. Now this study has collected data with respect to these variables, characteristics of the cases, these are all variables. This type of data collection is possible from the case. Every case law has this information. So you can look at for instance, disposition, appeal upheld or dismissed, decision in favor of plaintiff or defendant, description of cases, explosive, wrong law, used, admissibility. Now this is the coding which they have done. I don't have time today, otherwise. The coding is very interesting. You look at this is the coding that was done. Whether defendant was known or anonymous, reasons, due process followed or not. Very nicely done. So from the court case data set, the variables have been created. All these variables are measurable. So from the case law, you can collect the information like this type of cases. Now, type of cases, village, feudal, criminal, security, state, all these things. Now, how this data was used in this study is something which you must see. Characteristics of litigant was also available, this data. Political variable. All this information can be collected by law researchers from the case files. Basic traits, judges' name, career path of judges, means nature of judges. But this study is about what is the chances of giving a kind of verdict in a particular case, and with respect to in the context of certain variables. Profile of the case, profile of the litigant, dependent variable. What is the dependent variable? Judge. The dependent variable was verdict, means the judgment was upheld, the judgment was dismissed. I'm just giving you the outcome of that hypothesis. हेल्थ क्लॉज में नहीं बता रहा हूँ, Yeah. Hypothesis 1. This was the hypothesis. Post-emergency judges are more likely to support social rights in their request for public approval. Now, this was the test of hypothesis. You can look at it. Judges who served in High Court during this, they have the vivid memories of the Supreme Court's crisis of legitimacy. Now, this is the hypothesis result. Result seems to back our hypothesis that after the emergency, judges were keen to use social rights to enhance the institutional prestige of the court, but a decade later the court did not need to do so and reverted to the seeing affordability of the state as the key criteria for relating the social rights. This kind of analysis is something which is genuine empirical legal research. Please read this work. This is a very important area. So similarly, I'll not to go along all these things. Anyway, any question on this? No? We are fine with this because it cannot be finished because there are so many things, but there is a limit. We have been listening the past years. Okay. It's too long time. So fine, tomorrow we have another session. Please come prepared for tomorrow also. I think this entire activity. And please be on time. I am not saying that some of you are not on time. Though we never say that it is embedded in the culture, that only